what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. We're on episode 79, coming at you on a beautiful and potentially very warm Saturday morning. It's supposed to be like really hot today, I think.
Yeah, like I can't remember exactly, but high to mid 80s, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never check the weather. That's one thing that I never do is I always rely on other people to tell me what the weather is. And I know that it's super easy because you can have like a widget on your phone. I think it's called a widget, right?
I think it used to be. I don't know if it is anymore.
I don't even know if iPhones have them. I mean, most people have iPhones at this point, but like Android users know that there's widgets, like these widgets, and it shows you like the temperature and everything. And if you have your location on it, just like automatically refreshes periodically. But even then, I don't even like really check to refresh or see what the weather is going to be upcoming. I just kind of go with the flow. Right. Because there's no consistency in Ohio.
And it doesn't matter either. Like, the weather, rain or shine, it's going to happen. Whatever it is, whatever was planned is still going to happen.
I hate that I haven't been able to get outside for, effectively, you could say months.
Yeah.
Just because of, number one, the weather, but that's not really an excuse because I could get outside more. It's not like it's been tumultuous. It's just the fact that everything that I do is indoors for the most part. I do like training outside to a degree, but I just wish that I could get outside more and be outside more. That's why I love the summer is I feel so much better being outside.
Yeah.
Like even if it's like productive time outside and not just like recreational time. Mm-hmm. Like even if I don't have time to go on like a nature hike or a walk or something that I'd like to do, just the fact that I can train outside a little bit more,
right.
Even mowing the lawn or doing something somewhat productive outside is always nice too.
Yeah, I see a lot of your like your videos that you share of your clients. As the weather starts to get nicer, it seems that there's more and more of utilizing the outdoor space to do the stuff that you would have done inside.
Yeah, a lot of it too is stuff that you can't do inside because space restrictions.
Right.
Like you can't train speed in an indoor facility that's only, 50 feet by 50 feet or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So whenever the opportunity presents itself and it's nice out, I always try to get the kids outside because if you don't do anything, it's like the name of the game with everything. It's consistency. And you're not going to get faster if you don't train speed consistently. And really, how much time are you able, at least in this area, to devote to overspeed stuff where you're working more than 20, 30-yard sprints at a time.
Right.
Not much in the winter because, at least to the best of my knowledge, there aren't many, if any, indoor facilities that offer that amount of space to be able to train speed work to that degree. So anytime it's nice out, we always go outside just because, again, it affords us the opportunity to do something that we really couldn't do indoors.
Right.
I
think that's why whenever, I was in high school and stuff, when we did our wrestling, early before wrestling practice, we always went to the school and ran inside the school because we could use the halls because it was like the only space indoors that was long enough that you could do sprints and, get any kind of actual running and done,
But realistically for me, I think being outside trumps everything.
I agree.
Like I love lifting outside, running outside, hiking outside, just doing anything outside it's kind of like nature intended it to be that way.
Yeah.
Intended, obviously shelter would be for sleep and for protection, but ultimately you're spending most of your time outdoors. Evolutionarily speaking,
right.
You would be spending most of your time outdoors, vitamin D conversion from the sun, from the UVB. So there's so many things that go along with it too. Like I have never in my life been more aware of seasonal affective disorder or like seasonal depression, like people talk about, as I am now, because it seems to get like worse with age. Like I look forward so much to seeing the sunlight and being outside. I don't know if it's a direct correlation with age or if it's just like experience and understanding how beneficial summer is for us. I don't know.
It is definitely to do with age because like with experience, with age comes experience. So they go kind of hand in hand.
For sure. I love it, and I hate it at the same time when it's winter and it's dark. Because one of the things, I have like a tough time doing things when it's dark out for some reason, unless it's in the morning.
Yeah, because that's when you're supposed to sleep.
Yeah, like my circadian rhythm is pretty well regulated that like when it's dark out, melatonin production starts and I feel like it's time for bed. and it's hard for me to. It's difficult to be productive,
I agree.
So like even now, if it's a morning, that's a different scenario because like it's not biologically, but just consciousness wise, you're aware that it's morning, so you're ahead of the game. Whereas I hate lifting because the morning lifting sessions really only happened this year. Like that was kind of like a recent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before I was kind of like an afternoon, early evening lifter. So like if it was right after school, about 3 o'clock or 4 or 5, anywhere from the 3 to 5 range is when I would try to get my training in for me. And I hate going into the gym and lifting when it's already dark out, especially when it's like 5 o'clock, because it feels so much later than that. I feel like I should be winding my nervous system down, not trying to kick it into full gear.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely like the prolonged bouts of sunlight. Daylight, is awesome, and it just kind of lifts your mood with everything that you do. At least for me, it does.
I agree 100%. You could be. It's really hard to be in that terrible mood when it's sunny and 75.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you be mad at that?
And maybe it's just more pronounced here because that's kind of a change from the norm. I don't know if people where it's sunny all the time, and it could go one of two ways. Maybe they're in a much better mood all the time because it's sunny all the time,
right?
Or maybe since that's the norm, they get used to it. Yeah, and they don't realize how good it is to be out in the sun and to feel that way. I'm not really sure, but
could you imagine if we lived in Seattle?
I think about that kind of stuff all the time. Like if you live in an area where there's tons of cloud coverage or rain perpetually, or like I'm not sure of the cycles that it goes through, but I think that like Alaska goes through like really long periods seasonally where it's like dark all the time, and it'd be terrible.
I mean, it's like, talk about overcoming something, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause that's something a hand you're dealt with that you can't change, like unless you move.
Yeah,
like,
and then you're fighting biology and physiology at that point.
Exactly. It's like, and you're fighting nature.
Yeah. So how's training going for you?
Pretty good. I made a decision after talking to my chiropractor, and I'm going to take 2 weeks out of the gym and just do all cardio. Because it seems like every time I lift, like every other day, I'm going to the gym, my back starts to go back out. So it's like maybe I need to give it a little rest to recover, and a few weeks of being back on the wagon, so to speak, of losing weight will help that as well. So it's like it's a small concession, right?
Yeah.
To the big picture. So I lifted on Monday and it felt good. I felt really good, but Tuesday my back went out again, and I decided to go to called her and see if she could get me in, and went in and we talked about it, and I just decided to take a couple days off because, or I'm about a week at least is my plan.
It's so funny how, mentally that's a little bit of a barrier for you, I'm sure, to take some time off completely. And the irony is found kind of twofold, primarily in the sense that it's ironic that you're afraid, not you personally, but someone could be afraid to take time off from the gym because they'll lose progress, when the irony is that will actually help expedite and speed up progress. But then also just the fact that we can be so anal about certain things, but then so lax about others. So like I can find, myself or other people that are like that with just trying to think of an example, like the gym versus nutrition.
Yeah.
Like equally as important. And people get so hell-bent on not missing the gym because they'll lose progress, but they'll be perfectly fine coming off of their diet anytime.
Yeah.
And that's so strange to me, because it's like those are as of equal importance. How come one is so easy to do and miss without like guilt or mental repercussions, but then the other one isn't, and you feel terrible if you miss a gym session?
I don't know. I don't know that. I guess I don't know like the science answer, right? I'm sure that there's an answer, but in my opinion, it's like going to the gym is like a release.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we all love to do. Like if you're somebody that goes to the gym regularly and trains regularly and actually trains, you don't just go there to hang out. Like you're there with a plan, you stick to the plan and you do what you do. It's because you want to, right? The diet part for most people, I can imagine, is something that you have to do to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's easier to do what you want to do than it is what you have to do.
But what makes it like that? Because
Mm.
you say it's a release and stuff, which I get, but the gym, if you're doing the gym the right way, so to speak, and in training to make progress, it's going to be hard. It's just interesting to me, and because trust me, I'm one of these people, and I can't
Yeah,
explain it.
like do the hard things.
But it's interesting to me how the difficulty of the gym is embraced, but the difficulty of the diet is avoided. I don't know if it's because the diet, is a little bit more consuming. Like the gym takes an hour or 2 hours at the absolute most, whereas the diet constitutes the other 23 or 22 hours of the day. Maybe there's like an overwhelming sense there. Maybe the fact that there are a lot of avenues for failure, so to speak. Whereas the gym, if you miss the gym, you're just missing 1 hour's worth. Whereas,
right,
you're getting pulled in multiple directions by multiple things for cheating, so to speak, on a diet or whatever. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought because I feel like sometimes people get hyper focused on the wrong things. Not that getting hyper focused on the gym is bad. I mean, there's only, for the most part, there's only good that can come from that. But and I think I see that all the time too, where people get so like I'm a big picture to small detail type guy.
mm-hmm.
Like focus on the big picture first and kind of reverse engineer the small details to fit the big picture.
Right.
So like even though we talk like goal setting, we talk about small goals to meet the big goals. So just focused on micromanaging the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. But within that, I start with the big idea first and then work backwards. So like reverse engineer it. So okay, if I want to, so like weight loss, okay, if you want to lose 50 pounds in a year, focus on what the big goal is and then figure out what the small goals are to be able to focus on them. So work backwards. Okay, if I want to lose 50 pounds in a year, it's essentially 1 pound a week.
Yep.
So what am I going to have to do? And then I'm probably going to have to front load a lot of the weight loss just because, I may stall out or plateau a little bit early or later on as opposed to early. So I don't know, just figured I'd throw that out there, that thought process for me. And then the other thing that makes me think about when you mention, taking time off and taking a step back in order to take a step forward is how people have such a difficult time doing that, just in general. Not only in the sense that they'll be lackadaisical in other areas, but just how if they do something consistently and you break that consistency, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I have a tough time doing that or not doing that, staying away from it.
Right.
Like I actually had a guy contact me about some blood work results, and he had very, very low kidney function, which to the best of his knowledge was a little bit inexplicable. Like he wasn't really sure what the direct cause was, and he thought he was going into renal failure because his kidney values were extremely, extremely low. So just to give a little bit of insight on who, what, why, where, when, how, when you have interpreting blood work for kidneys, there's the primary measurement is called an EGFR. And it's what it is an estimated glomerular filtration rate. And what that does is basically it takes a look at how quickly certain things filter out of your blood. So they measure certain values in your bloodstream to figure out how much is built up. Because if a lot is built up, then your kidneys aren't filtering it out as quickly as they should. So what they do is they take those values and somehow put it into an algorithm to calculate what your EGFR is. So how good your kidneys are working or how well your kidneys are working. So a couple of things that they measure, like blood urea nitrogen, your creatinine levels, things like that. So anything above 60 is considered okay. You want your value to be above 60. Ideal would be over 100, like 100 to 120 range. And then the closer you get to 60s, on paper, the more it looks like your kidneys aren't filtering very well. And I say looks like because there's a lot of nuance that goes into it. But anything below 60 is considered like impaired kidney function or kidney failure. Once you get to about like the 15 range, that's where you need like a replacement, like a kidney replacement. So anything below 60 is bad. And he was at a 45. So it's not like he was 59, right. 58, but he was at a 45. So long story short, I asked him several questions about that. Like, hey, you know, what meals did you eat? Like, were you fasted? How well hydrated were you? When was the last time you lift? Long story short, he had all these, I don't want to say risk factors, but all these variables that were going to give him a bad score. And they all stem from him not knowing that he was going to get the blood work done. He went into the doctors for something else. He said, well, while you're here, let's do some blood work. We haven't had a checkup in a while.
Right.
So he wasn't fasted. He had trained that morning, had a lot of protein throughout the day or the last several days. And
I guess he probably had a lot of water left to drink.
Yeah, and did not drink any water really that morning, so he's dehydrated. So all of those reasons have specific reasons at why they kind of will take that value down. So anyway, I painted a picture for him nutritionally, supplement wise, hydration wise, training wise, what he's going to have to do, because they're redrawing it on Monday to double check it to see, you know, if they get a similar reading. So Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, told him to take off from the gym. And he was like, man, like, he was doing it and he's going to do it, but it was just difficult for him to take those couple steps back. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people that I know aren't able to see big picture because they get so focused on, I want to make progress with my physique, so I have to go to the gym.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but if you take one step back here, you're going to take 2 steps forward. Not only knowledge-based, but in most of the time, the steps backwards aren't even stepwards back or backward steps at all, because you're really just giving yourself better recovery anyway.
Exactly.
And I think that is something that you can kind of transfer to all walks of life. So I want to get into my training a little bit because there's some changes that I'm undergoing right now. So let's go to a commercial break, and then when we come back, I'll kind of share my updates and my side of things.
Okay.
As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram, and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well.
And we're back from our commercial break. So prior to the break, gave some updates on your end. I'd like to provide some on mine. Not that they're that interesting, but I wanted to delve into the split training a little bit. So
yeah, I was going to say, how's it going?
So by split training, I don't mean my training split. I mean my split training, which is for those that aren't really, you know, up to date on the nomenclature in the training world or the gym world. Training split refers to what your workouts look like and what you're doing under certain days, but I'm actually talking about my split training. So training to get better at a straddle split, which was one of the goals that you know I set out for myself. And I've had a lot of questions, and I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I wanted to go ahead and reiterate first before I get into the update. I keep asking me why the split. Like, why do you want to do a split? What's the purpose? Is there a purpose? And I said no. The one thing that we talk about on the podcast all the time is short-term goal setting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show some application of that and some accountability, and show like how you track your progress. Like, I post videos kind of frequently of me doing the split. I work on it daily. You know, I keep a mental record of what I'm doing in order to get the split, dedicating 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour to it every day or whatever. And I thought that was just kind of a way for me to show that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And in regards to the split specifically, there was no rhyme or reason to that. I just wanted to do something that was health centric or performance centric, and it just kind of popped in my head one day, so I took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in regards to that, it's going well. I've kind of changed up my training a little bit, though. I've been dedicating more time to the mobility component because I'm allowed to dedicate more time to the mobility component because I have more time to dedicate to the mobility component. So what I've done, is I made my workouts as efficient as possible and focused on a little bit more. I don't want to say athletic because that's like the wrong term because it's definitely not athletic. But I've changed my training partners. We've changed our training split to be a little bit more efficient and, I don't even want to use the word cardio, metabolically based, I'll say. So what we're doing is still keeping components of other training splits. So the first exercise that I do is a heavy compound movement aimed at getting stronger in that lift every week. So whether it's squats or bench press or deadlift, I pick one big exercise, air quotes on big, one big exercise every week, and I try to get stronger at that. The next exercise that we do is an isolation movement. So an isolation movement, again, for people that aren't familiar with some verbiage here, that's just an exercise where you try to isolate one body part as best as you can. So let's use legs, for example. I would do squats as my first heavy exercise and try to get heavier at that every single week. The next exercise would be an isolation movement where I try to just train the body part by itself. So like a leg extension where it's just quad focused, or hamstring curls where it's just isolating the hamstring. And that is supersetted with a loaded stretch. So if I'm doing, we'll stick with legs. If I'm doing leg extensions, as soon as I'm done with my set and one of my training partners is going, I'm doing a loaded stretch where I'm stretching under load or a lot of tension.
Yeah.
Which is helping with my mobility and my active range of motion and that sort of thing. Even though it's passive, it's still helping with active. And then the next three exercises that I do are supersetted together. So I'm doing all three back to back, and each of them is 1 minute. So I'll walk you through what a workout looked like. The last training session that I had was a press day, so any pressing movement. First exercise was a football bar pin press, so heavy as I could for 3 sets of 5. And all of my heavy movements are 3x5 right now, so 3 sets, 5 reps. After that, we went into a fly variation. So to isolate the chest, we're doing a fly variation, and then loading or coupling that with a loaded stretch. And then what we did after that was we did 3 movements. We did a dumbbell shoulder press for a minute, lateral raises for a minute, and the third one was a dumbbell hex press for a minute. We're doing 3 rounds of that. So that's basically 9 minutes straight of exercising.
Time under tension.
Yeah. So you're filling in a lot of volume in a short amount of time. So my workouts are getting done within 45 minutes to an hour, which gives me a little bit of leeway to tap into some other things. So again, the mobility component, the stretching. So I am dedicating a decent amount of time to the stretching. It's not probably as much as I should be, nor will it ever be as much as it should be. But I feel like I'm making progress, and I'm taking videos to track progress, and it seems to be showing, and it seems to be working. So hopefully by the July 4th deadline, I'll be able to get into a full straddle split or as close anatomically as my body will allow.
Yes, that's awesome. So a quick update on our goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The original 5K I wanted to run, they canceled this year due to COVID again.
So they're still canceling stuff like that, even though it's outdoors and people are getting vaccinated, and
I told the lady it's absolutely absurd, but she said that the city council and the board said they wanted to take 1 more year off from having the big festivities, and I was like, whatever. I have no control.
Yeah, control the controllables.
Yeah, so I seen a local bar 2 weeks ago put on a 5K down in our town for Police Officer Memorial Day, I think it was.
Okay.
And so I messaged the bar owner, who happens to be a guy I went to high school with. So, and anyway, I said, hey man, you guys should put on a race for the 4th of July. Nobody in the valley's doing one. And he said, we are on the 3rd. And I was like, sweet. So Renovito's Tap Room in East Liverpool is putting on a 5K on July 3rd. And that's where I'll do mine.
Cool. Now they were, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they were scheduled. Were they not scheduled to have a 5K recently?
They did. That's where they did it downtown. Last Saturday or the Saturday before.
Okay.
I was gonna do it, and that was when I was hurt. I wasn't gonna try to run it. I was just gonna go and sign up and walk it with the baby.
I feel like everybody needs to find a hobby that they can do regularly like that. Like for me, it's tough because with bodybuilding, and I've been pretty vocal about this before. So one thing I hate about it is that you can't do it regularly. Like to get ready for a show takes months.
Yes.
Months and months and months at a time to get ready for a show. And then once you're in shape, it's not sustainable. So even if I get in great shape and compete at a show, I can't continue to do that week in and week out. Financially, it's not feasible. Schedule-wise, it's not feasible. But even your health and your physique will start to deteriorate pretty linearly if you continue to push the envelope. Regardless of what your hormonal environment is, whether you're a natural athlete or you're an enhanced athlete, it's still going to take a brutal, brutal toll on your body to be dieted down for that long and, expect to even maintain, let alone improve.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not feasible. So you need to find a hobby. I think most people do that they can compete in regularly, like a 5K or like, I don't want to call that, would you call that distance running? I mean, It really depends on who you're talking to. For me, that's distance running, but that's not near like a marathon or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it would be like the equivalent to a sprint when you're talking about distance running.
Yeah, so like short distance running. That's something that you could do every weekend if you had the time.
You could do one every day. I did it in January.
Yeah.
So you can complete the distance of a 5K every day for the rest of your life if you wanted. It's only 3 miles. You know what I mean? So as long as you're in relative, not even relative shape, because I don't even think I'm in relative shape. Whatever, I'm 353 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big, to normal people. So you can do anything.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I see what you're saying. That's one of the things I think that's one of the reasons I fell in love with the 5K so much when I first started this was they're so popular and there's so many of them, especially in the spring, summer, and fall, that you could literally sign up for one 2 or 3 days a week, I would say pretty regularly.
Well, there's so many attractive things about a 5K for me. Now, let me preface this by saying that I dislike running and I'm pretty vocal about that. But at the same time, there are so many things that make it a good hobby.
Yes.
That aren't necessarily transferable to other goals or activities. Mm-hmm. So number one is it's measurable, which that has to be, if you're having goals, they have to be measurable and tracked. My coach, Austin Stout, had something the other day that he posted. And I think it was, I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not going to get the exact quote, but that which is tracked or that which is logged can be improved. Mm-hmm. And it's so if you can log it and if you can track it, you can improve upon it. And so running is very, very quantitative in nature, where you run the same distance and you improve the time.
Yes.
It's very, very measurable, very specific. And I think that's great because it makes it easy to track your progress. Number two is anybody can do it. Now, not necessarily people say, oh, well, I want to run a 5K, but I can't do it. It's well, you can. It just depends on how well you want to do. Like a bodybuilding show, same thing. Technically, anybody can enter it. Yeah. I mean, you may not do well, or you may, get embarrassed. But but you can. Literally, you can register for the show. Yes. You can do the show. You may not do well, but you can actually physically show up and compete. So I tell people with bodybuilding, jump head first, even if you're not ready. Not that I'm saying do a show if you're not ready, but do a competition prep.
Yeah.
Even when you don't think you're ready. Go through the dieting phase. Go through the training phase. See what it's like to get ready for a show, because then you'll get addicted and you'll probably make progress a lot faster that way. And I think the same thing with 5K. Like, just if you want to get into running or you're interested in it, do your first one and sign up. Like, it's a very non-judgmental sport, I feel.
Oh, man,
and
awesome.
Because there's people from all different walks of life, do a 5K and see how it is, and then just try to do a little bit better next time. That's like one of my clients that I work with. She's interested in starting to pursue like some short distance running, like some 5K stuff. And so I'm having her send me her times after every session, every cardio session that she does. Or I don't want to really cardio, because cardio kind of implies that it's not performance based, that it's more physique based. Whereas hers is physique based, but she wants to have some performance elements as well. So she, runs. Sometimes she'll do 1 mile, sometimes she'll do 3 miles, or whatever. But she sends me her times, and we're keeping kind of like a running record of those, no pun intended, to just kind of track and see if she's getting better every time, which to this point she has been.
Right.
And that's the other thing about it, is not only can anybody do it, but anybody can improve.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have physical ailments or orthopedic impairments or, injuries or whatever that are keeping you from physically moving, you can do it and you can improve upon it.
Yep.
And I think that like strength sports are the same way. Anybody can go to the gym and get stronger or get better at doing something.
Yeah, that's why I love the 5Ks, and I like powerlifting. Like, I think because it's, those are two areas where you can always improve.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have, I'm not saying you're going to make leaps and bounds in either one of them, but as long as consistency is going to pay off.
Yeah.
So, like, as long as you consistently do your craft, you're going to get better.
Well, dude, one of the things that I really suck at, and I'll be completely honest, is I am 100% all in on things. What sucks about that is then I try to be 100% in on everything. And then it ends up, not being very effective, because if you can think you're giving 100% to 5 different things, but in reality, there's only one 100% that you have to give. So if you're doing 5 different things, you're giving 20% to all of them.
Right.
Now, granted, I feel like my 20% is probably a lot higher than most people's 20%. So I can teach, I can train, I can coach, and I can do my own thing. So that's 4 things, like my own thing being bodybuilding and focusing on self-improvement for myself. So you got my 3 jobs, and then I got myself, and then we'll take family, friends, and social life in there. So that way we have 5. So of those 5 things that I do, I feel like I give a lot of effort to all of them. But realistically, you can only give 20% if you're doing them all with what you perceive to be 100% effort. So I'm giving my best effort. So I give the same amount of energy to my training clients as I do to my online nutrition clients, so my training business, as I give to my students at school. So if I'm giving the same amount of effort to all of them, that's not 100% because there's not 500% of me, so there's 20%. But I feel like if you do it long enough, your capacity at 20% is a lot higher. So if you're only doing one thing and you're only focused on yourself and you give 20% in the gym, that's not going to be enough, because your perception of what that percentage is goes way down. But anyway, the thing that I stink at is trying to give too much to too many things.
I think we both do that.
And that's why I'm really liking this split training, is because for a short period of time, 2-month span, it lets me be pretty myopically focused on one single thing, just trying to get better at doing a split. Now, granted, I'm still lifting. I'm still trying to improve my physique. I'm still trying to improve my performance and my health and my careers and all these things. So it's not like I completely lose track of them, but it's nice for like 15 minutes at a time just to focus on one goal. The only thing that I'm concerned about right now for the next 20 minutes is getting more flexible. Yeah. Just get to the ground.
Yep.
And it's really cool to let the other worries of the world kind of exercise themselves. Yeah. Again, no pun intended. Just get rid of them. All I'm focused on is one little thing, and the world is kind of at peace. And I think that's why people have training as a release. For me, I never viewed training as a release, because it was almost like I'm kind of fringing on being a meathead here, but it was almost like a job, because I'm in the gym space for training. I'm in the gym space for competition purposes for myself. So I never looked at it as like a leisurely release or an emotional release. I looked at it, if anything, it was the opposite for me. It was more of a stress. Not that I felt stress going to the gym, but a bad workout was added stress.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a release of stress or relief at all. Whereas some people, even if they have a bad workout and it's not a great workout or less than optimal workout, they're still releasing energy or tension or anger or whatever,
right.
stress. Whereas for me, that doesn't happen. So I never really looked at training like that. But a lot of people do.
I do.
I'm one of the people who I'm kind of rare in that sense. I don't think it's right or wrong.
Right.
I just think when what you do, and it's funny because you can even take training just as, like, I feel like you and I take workouts just as seriously, but one person can look at it one way and another person can look at it in another way. Like the mental approach of emotion towards the workout. Some people like to train angry and they have the best workouts when they're angry. If they're upset or they're mad and stressed about something, they go in and they crush it and they have this great workout. Whereas for me, that only serves as more of a distraction.
Yeah,
I go in
thinking about the anger.
Yeah, if I'm in the gym angry, I can't get my mind away from my anger to focus on the workout. No matter, it never serves as a distraction for me. So my best workouts are the ones when I'm in a good mood. If I'm in a good mood, I'll have a fantastic workout.
Yep. Good music. You know, good environment. You get the right people with you. That's when I have my best workouts.
That's the other thing is I was talking to Dr. Ryan about this. We sat down and went over it was kind of like a tutorial for me for how to structure my website and how to continue to help build it myself and kind of, I don't want to say build it because the base framework is there, but I'm kind of changing some nuance to fit it the way that I want it to be. So it's not really launched yet. But when I'm going through this tutorial, I'm thinking to myself, I just drew a blank and I completely forgot where I was going with this. What were you mentioning? See, I love when we do this because I think it shows how real the podcast is and how we don't really have like a set thing. We just kind of go.
I was so focused on what you were saying about the tutorial.
Yeah. So anyway, I was talking about my flaws. But regardless, I guess that would be a nice little segue into saying that the website is soon to be launched.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to go back over this episode. Now I'm going to have to listen to it and say, what the heck were we talking about? And why did I bring up, that's my mind going a bunch of different directions at once. But regardless, that's being launched, and that's kind of all I have on my side for training updates, man.
Awesome, man. And hamstrings doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, it's funny because I actually just got out of my car before we started recording, and I felt it a little bit, which is the first time I felt it in a long time. And I'm pretty much back to training everything. I'm just not back to training everything the way that I can.
Right.
Normally.
Yeah. You still baby steps into it.
Yeah. So I would say probably like 50 to 75%, somewhere in the 2/4 to 3/4 range. But I'm squatting still, but I'm not squatting super heavy. Last week I started doing hamstring curls, but it's like as light as possible, just going through the range of motion and the movement. Don't have any pain, doesn't bother me, don't really feel it at all, but that's the point of going slow.
Yep.
Because I've had this conversation probably on this podcast, but definitely with people in person. The people who feel good are the people that get hurt. So when you're coming back from an injury, if it still hurts, you're very aware, and there's that avoidance factor. Okay, well, if this hurts, I'm not going to do stuff to aggravate it or where I feel it hurting anymore.
Agreed.
Whereas when you feel good, that doesn't mean you feel healed or you're healed.
Yeah.
Just because you feel healed doesn't mean you are. So then people go back full go, and when you go full tilt and you're not really recovered, but you feel recovered, that's when you make the injury worse or regress backwards.
It's kind of like what my dad was saying. When I first started like doing the triathlon training and stuff. I kept texting him updates. I was updating you in person because I was training with you every day, and I would text him my update for like the triathlon stuff, and it was a trend that every day of every week was like sore.
Yeah,
ankles are sore, hips sore, this, that, the other thing sore, and he said sore is the new sexy. If you're not sore, you're not doing it right. So if you're like you said, if you go into it feeling 100 after an injury, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
because you don't have that. I love that. What'd you call it? When you have a little bit of like residual pain, You called it something, and I can't remember. But like you avoid to go that far, that deep or that heavy, or
your body sends you natural biofeedback mechanisms. So like I was actually listening.
It's like a sunburn.
We've talked about this on an episode a long time ago, and it was very brief. But I remember listening to one time to a table talk, and there were some strength coaches and some performance specialists, and they were talking. I believe it was the Elite FTS guy. I think it was Dave Tate, if I'm not mistaken. But they were talking about. Dave was saying, I believe it was Dave, how he doesn't like pre-workout supplementation for athletes, and he said because it blunts biofeedback to some degree. So if you are going into a training session and you feel tired, there's a reason that you feel tired. Lack of sleep, lack of nervous system recovery, lack of proper nutrition, whatever. That's your body telling you that you need more of this. That's why you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
When you take a pre-workout supplement loaded with caffeine, that kind of energizes you and that blunts that response, so you go harder than you probably should have. If you are in a gym and you're not getting a pump and you're feeling very flat, usually that's poor nutrition, poor hydration, poor electrolyte balance. You need to fix that. If you're going to the gym and doing a bunch of exercises, you're not getting very full and you don't feel a good pump or a mind-muscle connection, there's an issue there that needs addressed. The issue that needs addressed is not, oh, I just need to take this pre-workout supplement with all these different vasodilators in it that are going to give me a lot of blood flow and a really good pump. So I'll drink that and then I'll get a good pump and now it's fixed. It's like, no, the nutritional deficiencies aren't still fixed.
There.
Yeah. So sometimes, the biofeedback that we get from our body is very important. I talked to a client one time recently and I said, the body talks to us and tells us everything we need to know. You just need to know how to speak its language. You need to know the language of the body and what it's telling you. Because everybody understands soreness.
Yes.
But not everybody understands, how to identify sleep patterns, how to identify what your bowel movements and digestion are telling you and your GI symptoms, what your biofeedback specifically in the gym, how to track strength, how to track your pumps and, quantify those to a degree. How to figure out if you're sweating more than you normally would sweat or whatever. All of those biological feedback mechanisms can give us insight into what our body needs and doesn't need. And I feel that the overreaching or overarching umbrella term here is out of touch. People are out of touch with their bodies in space.
Yeah.
They don't know how their body feels. They don't know how to use their bodies. They don't know how to move their bodies. Like one thing that I do is I have a lot of youth camps. Right now, every Friday, for an hour, I'm training a youth soccer organization. So there's a ton of little kids, first grade, second grade, third grade. Now there's some older ones that are in junior high, but mostly it's younger kids. And we focus on developing movement. We focus on balance, on coordination. We do a lot of like drills that are all fun. Like we play tag, like where you have to hop on one foot to play tag in the room. And then we'll switch feet. We'll do somersaults. We'll do rolls. We'll do stand-ups. We'll do like cartwheels, different movement patterns just to try to get them to move better and feel more in touch with their body. I saw a strength coach on Twitter the other day, and I know that I'm kind of taking this on a tangent. We're getting ready to end the episode, and I'm kind of running with it. But I saw a strength coach, Jeremy Frisch, who's a great, great strength coach for adolescent and youth athletes. He made a video post of his middle school kids doing a bunch of different things, different like lifts and movements and drills. And he said, middle school kids will look awkward. Like sometimes basically alluding to the fact that strength coaches and performance coaches get so hyper focused on everything looking perfect. He said, middle school kids are going to look awkward. They're going to figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of load, give them some drills to do that are fun and movement based, and their bodies will figure it out as they go. They'll under that coordination and that balance, they will figure out as long as they have repeated exposure to it. So, and the reason on me going on that brief little monologue there was just to talk about how I think that people aren't in touch with their bodies. And that soreness component is one thing that people who exercise or work out regularly need to be a little bit more in touch with. because it's giving you good feedback.
Exactly. It's telling you you're doing it, for one. You're doing something. And then, like, noticing, like, that you're not just, like, because I can remember when I first started, I would say I'm sore, but I couldn't tell you exactly what was sore.
Yeah, of course.
And now I'm like, I can tell you exactly where on my pec hurts or where on my quads hurt. You can
probably tell, too,
what exercise did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why you got sore.
Exactly.
Was it a new stimulus? Was it a new load? Maybe you went heavier. Maybe you had higher volume. You went longer than you did in, the past however many workout sessions or whatever. But I think that could be a nice place to end it. Just be more aware with feedback that you're getting, and not only from your body, but from everybody and from everything. If you have goals or you're trying to be successful, like this is the obviously the theme of the podcast, try to look for feedback to those goals, because we always talk about, like we talked about earlier on this exact episode, making things measurable and quantitative. How can you make sure that you're heading in the right direction? You have numbers that you can use to track progress. Well, one of the things that's going to track progress is just being in touch with your body or with feedback from other people who have noticed a change. If you're trying to be more happy and that's one of your goals, get feedback from other people. Do you appear more happy? Like sometimes people, if I have a goal that I'm working towards that's not quantifiable, like if I want to be a better friend, and, sometimes if that's my goal, if I want to be a better friend and someone says to me, hey, Charlie, you've been like, a lot more vocal, and I feel like, we've had good connections lately. Like we've gone out to eat a couple times and we've hung out. I really like hanging out with you a lot more. That shows me that I'm being a better friend.
Right.
That's feedback that I can use. So not just the physical feedback, but the social feedback, the emotional feedback, whatever. Try to make everything, even the things that don't seem like they're trackable.
Yeah, absolutely. Every aspect is trackable.
For sure, man. So I think that's a good place to end it right there.
I think so.
So without further ado, we've come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This is episode 79 as we creep closer to 100. We appreciate everybody's support. As always, we cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for your interactions, and we look forward to hearing back from you next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge and take it all. I'm born to be untamable, go right.